What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, the truth, Errol Spence Jr., unified welterweight, WBC, IBF, world champion, has been back in the gym. He's been training, back on schedule, back looking like himself, right? With that said, everybody's waiting a highly anticipated announcement for his next fight. In which most speculate and believe that it will be two-division world champion, former unified junior welterweight world champion, former WBC welterweight world champion, Danny Swift Garcia. And I know a lot of people are opposed to this. You know, there's a lot of fans that, want to see Errol Spence immediately in the ring with undefeated WBO welterweight superstar boxer Terrence Bud Crawford. I'm here to tell you that's not going to happen next, okay? The chance of that happening, I mean, anything can happen, but the chances of that coming to fruition, the first time Errol Spence steps back in the ring after suffering a horrific car accident October 10th, is slim to none, right? You're not going to see that fight happen next, okay? I know a lot of people don't. When Danny Garcia got in the ring with Errol Spence after Errol Spence's victory over Showtime Sean Porter, who's a two-time world champion, welterweight world champion in his own right. He held the IBF, he held the WBC. Thus, this is how Errol Spence captured the WBC, through Sean Porter. Danny Garcia got in the ring with Errol Spence and said, "Let's make it happen." They were supposed to handle their business January 25th, but obviously Errol Spence suffered the car accident. Manny Pacquiao, Errol Spence versus Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao said that that's a fight he's exploring, but is it realistic? In my opinion, it's not realistic on Manny Pacquiao's side. It would be realistic on Errol Spence's side. Errol Spence is willing to chomp at the bit to get Manny Pacquiao in the ring with him. But on Manny Pacquiao's side, his trainer, longtime trainer and friend, Freddie Roach, has been telling anybody that would listen that that's a fight he would avoid if he could for Manny Pacquiao. Leonard Ellerbe, Mayweather Promotions CEO, stated that if it was up to him, he would keep Manny Pacquiao as far away from Errol Spence as possible. So it leads me to believe the powers that be behind the scenes don't truly want that fight. They have to mention that fight because they're under the same banner. It would be a unification bout. It would be huge. I believe they will step in the ring against one another, but I don't believe it'll be right now. And definitely not Errol Spence's first fight back. Business-wise, that's not the greatest move. Why? Because we still don't know what we're going to get from Errol Spence. Now, I'm sure Errol Spence is like, I'm myself. I'm back to me 100%. But we still need to see him in the ring and still see the truth. Not that he's not, but, obviously we need a sample size, right? You sample something before you buy it. The fight between Errol Spence and Manny Pacquiao, no disrespect to Danny Garcia, is much bigger than Errol Spence and Danny Garcia. So if you're going to put on a fight of that magnitude, we must see Errol Spence absolutely at his best. We must already see a sample size. You understand? For selling point, for selling reasons. You understand? For a fight of that magnitude, that's going to be pay-per-view. Right? And Manny Pacquiao is still, in my opinion, right now, the face of the sport of boxing. As far as pay-per-view sales go, right? Manny Pacquiao is well accomplished above any and everybody, right? I think Deontay Wilder carries the sport currently because of Deontay Wilder's excitement and his demeanor and the way he carries himself. Manny Pacquiao is reserved. His English is not the best. He's not American, and he's on the wrong side of 40. You understand? So, but Manny Pacquiao is still a legend, an active legend. So Manny Pacquiao coming off of that big victory against Keith Thurman, which people thought it might be a little sketchy, it's a 50-50 fight. and he dominated Keith Thurman, dropped Keith Thurman, turned back the hands of time, showed the old Manny Pacquiao, his stock is very, very high. So you put him in there with Errol Spence, that's a huge fight. So I just don't think, not knowing, we could speculate. I believe Errol Spence is going to be back to his normal self. I don't think anything is wrong. I think he's great. I think he's back to his normal self. But as a business, doing business, as far as business go, it's just not a great move to do that fight straight away coming off of this situation with Errol Spence. So it would be more in business-wise best interest to go ahead and stick to the script with Errol Spence and Danny Garcia. And then, before the year's over, make Errol Spence and Manny Pacquiao. Then, early 2021, you do Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. And why am I saying this? Because Errol Spence, now it's a possibility you could shuffle the board and do Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford before you do Manny Pacquiao situation, right? At the end of the year. Errol Spence have a great showing against Danny Garcia, and again, I'm just speaking on Errol Spence, so I'm not disrespecting Danny Garcia by not putting him in and shedding him in the light of being a victor in the Errol Spence fight. Obviously, Errol Spence would be favored to beat Danny Garcia. I would peg Errol Spence to beat Danny Garcia. Just styles make fights, right? And I like Errol Spence's style. I like his chances in beating Danny Garcia, right? Danny Garcia is flat-footed. At times, he looks for the left hook. He can be predictable. And I think Errol Spence just has more tools in the toolbox to defeat, what's necessary to defeat Danny Garcia. So, with that said, I believe that they're going to stick to the script and go ahead and push forward with Danny Garcia versus Errol Spence. And I believe that fight is going to take place in June. And I think that that's going to be a huge fight. I think that a lot of people are overlooking the action that Danny Garcia brings to the ring. I feel like a lot of people are just overlooking Danny Garcia overall and his star power in his own right and his set of skill set. He's exciting as well. So the fight is going to do well. And not to mention, you bring in the situation where we don't know what Errol Spence is going to look like. So it makes people, it's going to make the fans and the boxing pundits and the boxing world eager to see what Errol Spence, how he looks coming off of the horrific car accident. So the interest, the peak of interest is going to be very, very high. So this is the perfect fight from a business standpoint to put on, because the interest. So let's say if you don't believe that Danny Garcia is a strong selling point, most people are going to give it the benefit of the doubt now because of the fact that Errol Spence is coming off of a car accident. You understand? Opposed to him, people were more opposed to it coming off the Sean Porter win, because it's like, all right, we don't want to see Danny Garcia. We want to see Terrence Crawford or Manny Pacquiao, right? But now, not knowing how he's going to come back, not knowing how he's going to look, the interest of this fight, this is the perfect storm. Because now, people can't really turn their nose up at this fight because it's a comeback fight for Errol Spence. You understand what I'm saying? And so it's the perfect comeback fight to sell to the boxing world and the boxing pundits, because everybody wants to see if he's going to be himself. So it's going to do very well. I don't think it should be pay-per-view. I think it should be, a regular Saturday night. You know what I mean? I don't think it should be a pay-per-view event. I think that they would do well just having it, be a regular comeback story, sell the comeback story, sell the fact that Danny Garcia is accomplished. This fight was already set in stone, but obviously we know the situation with the car accident that derailed it. And nobody wants excuses when it comes to Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. You follow what I'm saying? Nobody wants excuses when it comes to Errol Spence and Manny Pacquiao, right? So if he goes straight away into Manny Pacquiao or Terrence Crawford and not be successful, then people will use the excuse or have it in their brain that, well, he wasn't himself. He came off the car accident and then he went right back into this fight. This allows people to get comfortable with this fight. This allows people to get on board with this fight. This allows the peak interest for this fight is going to be at an all-time high, because just for the mere fact that people just want to see how Errol Spence looks in the comeback. This is going to be a great selling point for both guys. And it was already set in stone. So you have the storyline of it was supposed to take place January 25th. He got in the ring. Then Errol Spence had the car accident. It was derailed. Danny Garcia kept the date. He went ahead and fought another opponent. He was victorious. Now we want to see Errol Spence come back and how he's going to look when he come back. So the ring rust and things of that nature is going to be accepted when it comes against Danny Garcia. Right, it's going to be accepted and expected. You understand? So if he don't have his best performance against Danny Garcia, it's going to be all right as long as he get the victory, because people are expecting him not to look like himself. There's already speculations. Not me personally. I'm just saying there's just fans and boxing pundits that feel like he may not look like his old self. So with that said, he's going to get a pass. So this is the perfect fight to still stage. It's going to be accepted, and the peak interest is going to be high. I just don't believe it should be a pay-per-view event, especially seeing as though we don't know what he's going to look like. So if he goes away in Terrence Crawford and Terrence Crawford beats him, then people are going to use excuses. Terrence Crawford shouldn't want that, and obviously Errol Spence don't want that, right? Just like Sean Porter said, he didn't want Keith Thurman coming straight away after the injury to come into a fight against him, and he beats him, and then people are going to say, well, he was injured. Well, we didn't know what he was going to look like. Well, he had the surgery on his arm and so on and so forth, his shoulder, whatever it was, right? With this situation, it's not going to be that, right? It's now because people would turn their nose up at this fight, they're going to accept it now. So this just makes all the sense in the world that you're going to see Danny Garcia versus Errol Spence in June or in May, whenever this fight is going to take place. Right? Whenever his scheduled date to come back is. So it just makes all the sense in the world. So expect to see Danny Garcia. This fight should happen. I believe it will happen, and it needs to happen. Because nonetheless, Danny Garcia is still a big name in the welterweight division. He's still a selling point. Regardless if people are huge fans. He sold out his last fight at the Barclays Center. Sold out. It was jam-packed. It was jam-packed in the arena at the Barclays Center. He always sells out the Barclays Center. So I believe that Errol Spence versus Danny Garcia needs to take place at the Barclays Center. I believe it should take place. I believe it will take place. And I believe it needs to take place because it's the perfect timing for this fight to take place. Now you're going to get a lot of people that are going to shun it. They don't want to see it. But that's all right. It just makes sense. It makes all the sense in the world. There's no excuses. It's not as big as Errol Spence versus Manny Pacquiao. You don't want to risk that. And Errol Spence not be at his best business-wise. You don't know what you're going to get. And then, like I said, you don't want excuses. Obviously, the biggest fight to be made currently right now is Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence in the sport of boxing right now, seeing as though Deontay Wilder just lost. So the biggest fight was, in my opinion, Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua. But since he's been derailed and has to get back on track, this fight surpasses it now. Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. You don't want the biggest fight in the sport of boxing to be have an asterisk by it because we didn't know what Errol Spence was going to look like. So that's just not business-wise, don't make sense. And as a fan, you shouldn't want that. Boxing pundits don't want that. You want to see the best fight the best at their best. So with that said, like I said, Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao fight took a hit because Manny Pacquiao was knocked out cold by Juan Manuel Marquez before they got the chance to step in the ring against one another. So it didn't have it lost some of its luster. You don't want that to be the case. You want Errol Spence to shake off the rust, if there's any. You want him to shake off any doubt that he may have, or, this is going to be his first high impact, situation since having a car accident. You want him to be at his best, point blank and period. So expect to see Danny Garcia versus Errol Spence in end of May, early June. But that's all I got for y'all. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shouts out to New Media. Shouts out to Black Media Road. Make sure you like and share these videos. And another thing is, if you made it to the end, they're both in training camp. That's all I got for y'all, man. Peace.